Ladies and gentlemen, well, welcome to Meet People, the podcast of the Southwest Meat Association. I can't wait to have these conversations, and we're going to do everything we can to make it entertaining and valuable and a great representation of meeting the people. Welcome to the show, everybody. I've got Almanza here. He's a guy that's been a part of the industry in a lot of different facets, and you have seen the industry, the regulatory side of it as well, from a set of eyes that I'm just hoping we can kind of get a little access to and see how you think about things, and also give people that listen some insight that really they can't get much any other way. I mean, there's only one Al.
Right.
So first things first, where did you grow up? Where did you come from? Like, how did you even get in the meat business?
That's a crazy question because it actually happened here in San Antonio, right? Right down the road here. I was in high school and went over to L&H Meatpacking Company down on Probant. It was a cull cow slaughter facility, and my first job there was washing out cattle pens.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly I realized that isn't what I wanted to do the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I went to work there after a couple of weeks. They had me running cattle up, and then a variety of jobs. I probably did everything on a kill floor for a little bit of time to kind of learn.
Yeah.
And this is like when I'm 16, 17.
Right. So did you have siblings?
I did.
Was your mom and dad from this? Were you born and raised in San Antonio?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Down on the south side of San Antonio. My dad was a food inspector.
Okay.
And so I knew that side of it, but quite frankly, it just interested me. I'd always liked being around animals and stuff, and it just was a natural kind of thing for me, right?
Well, just before this conversation, I was talking to Ed Ruff, who's sitting over there in the peanut gallery watching, and he said sometimes it seemed like the thing to do at the time,
Right?
You know.
Yeah. And so I every summer I'd come back and they'd put me in a different place. They'd put me on the kill floor the first year.
Well, where were you coming back from? School? Or?
Just high school, yeah. But I was playing football in high school, and so that was kind of cool to do that because some of my other friends, I'd help them on the weekends baling hay and stuff down not far from here, actually. And so it was interesting to me to be able to do the animal harvesting part of it, and then helping some friends baling hay and stuff. So and the person that owned the ranch farm was a veterinarian, Dr. Larson. I played high school football with his two sons.
Yeah.
So like it was always agriculture kind of cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
For me. And so then like I said, I'd come back during the summer, worked in the coolers, separating utility cattle from the just different. We never really had graded cattle because it was cull cows, but we had to separate them anyway, and then work them into the fab room, pulling tenders, pulling strips, all that kind of stuff, which was at the time I didn't realize how that would benefit me through my career.
Yeah. I mean, it's setting you up already to have what I think is a really cool career.
Yeah. Well, yes, thank you for that. Then every like I said, every summer when I'd come back, they'd put me doing different things, packing, boning. They taught me how to bone chucks, how to bone rounds, how to bone strips, and like it. Again, it was like I was being mentored, tutored along the way. So then after my senior year, I came and worked in their quality assurance program before going to TCU, and I thought that was kind of cool, the whole quality assurance part of it. And the general manager there is the one that hired me to wash out cattle pens, and he just kept moving me around, like I said, every summer. Well, then he wanted me to come back and be a buyer. Now, this is like high school education kind of thing. And I said, well, I need to go to school. And so I went to TCU, came back that summer, and he put me back in quality assurance, but he wanted like to train me up to like learn how to buy cattle stuff. So I went out and with one of the buyers and kind of learned that end of it for a bit. That was interesting as well. But then I transferred from TCU to UTSA, which happens to be again right down the
Yeah,
road
right.
here. Right, wanted to get a degree in biology. Wanted to be a dentist. Little did I know that I'd be looking at teeth, but it'd be cow's teeth
Yeah.
rather than human teeth for the rest of my career, right? But nonetheless, so I again during the summers I'd work, and I was working at LNH off and on, and after 3.5 years, I was 12 hours short of getting my degree. Uh, I was kind of burnt out on college, so
Yeah.
I took the test to be a food inspector and moved to Dalhart, Texas. That's an interesting story in itself as well because my dad, back in the day when you used to get these, well, you used to get stuff in the mail,
Yeah.
and
Back in the day.
and you would take the test and they would tell you that you passed, and they would offer you 3 or 4 different locations of where you wanted to go. So my dad grabbed it before I did, and he filled it out for me.
Really? He wanted you to go to Dalhart?
Yes.
Did he have some business up there? Or?
No, because he said if you can survive in Dalhart, Texas for a year, you can survive anywhere in the world. Now, little did I know that, boy, was that the truth, right?
Right.
I mean, the first week I got there, and it was in May, there was it snowed, there was sleet, there was a thunderstorm, there was a tornado, and a dust storm or dirt or dust storm where you couldn't see from, I'd say, 50 yards,
Yeah.
all in the first week I was there. And I was like, well, that's what he meant by if you could
Right.
survive here, right?
Yeah.
But it turned out to be one of the best moves in my career, right? So here I was working at a Cavanagh plant.
Yeah.
Um, got to learn a whole lot about uh, small plant. I mean, it's same thing, cull cattle, right? Same thing as LNH. But on the weekends, there was opportunities to go work in Dalhart or in Cactus, Texas. Uh, now it's part of JBS,
Yeah.
but back in the day, it was I don't know who owned it back then. It was a Swift plant, but nonetheless, so I'd get to go on the weekends and going from a small cull cow plant that you're running about 30 to 40 an hour to 300 an hour, right?
Yeah.
So then you'd learn
The
how to
scale
inspect.
and speed.
That's right.
So you were still inspecting, but you were like, was that over? I guess that was just overtime. You were working at a different plant, or how'd that work?
Well, on the weekends, I just go from Dalhart over
To Cactus.
to Cactus, yeah. And then after about 9 months in Dalhart, they shut that plant down. So then I had an opportunity to be on relief. So I worked the whole Texas Panhandle. I got to go to Amarillo, Plainview, Freona, Lubbock. There were multiple plants up there that I got to learn like how to work at different speeds and different management and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting time in my life. I did that for a couple of years, and then I moved to Plainview. The reason I went to Plainview is because it was the only large plant that only had a day shift, and I wasn't interested in working those night shifts anymore because I
Yeah.
had a family then.
Yeah.
And then opportunity came along for me to move back to San Antonio as a processing inspector, and I was fortunate to have some really good mentors and supervisors, and they saw something in me that I quite frankly didn't realize that I was capable of doing. And so I just kept moving up and moved from a GS8 to a GS9. to a GS10, all here in San Antonio, and then got to work in the Austin area office as a program assistant. Basically, the person that's responsible for staffing all the plants when inspectors go on vacation and things of that nature. So I did that. Drove to Austin and back for about a year and a half, and then the area supervisor that was there, he said, "You really ought to look into moving to Dallas." There was a job coming open there, and I said, "Well, I don't think I want to live in Dallas." He said, "Why not?" And I said, "Well, that's not home." And he said, "Well, home is where you make it."
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know that was like an epiphany or some sort, but I was like, "Huh, well, that's right." So I applied for the job and I got it. And it was basically doing labor relations and employee relations in Dallas, Texas. And then my boss at that time, I'd worked with him in Austin. So he told me, he said, "I'm only going to work about 2 or 3 years. I'm going to retire and I want you to take my job." So that worked out. He retired. I took his job.
Yeah.
And then FSIS changed the structure from regional offices to district offices. And while I still remained as a labor and employee relations specialist, opportunities came up. So I applied for the deputy district manager job,
Yeah.
got that. And then after a couple of years, the district manager retired and I was a district manager. And for about 2.5 years. And then this is kind of a lesson that I kind of preach to young folks is you never know where the next opportunity is going to come up. And in like meeting people and talking to people, there was a situation in headquarters where the administrator and the deputy administrator, they were at a conference that I was at, and they were needing some help in Washington, D.C. with some personnel issues. So I said, "Hey, man, if y'all need for me to help you, let me know and I'll come up and help." And they're like, "Okay." So I helped with this situation that we had. And so you fast forward about a year, and the administrator left the job, and the undersecretary called me and he said, "Hey, I heard that you said that if we ever needed help here in headquarters, you'd be willing to help." I said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, we need an administrator." I said, "When you pick one, let me know and I'll be glad to come help him." He said, "No, we want you."
Yeah.
Now I can't repeat what I said because it was just such spur of the moment that I was like, let's just put it, you're out of your mind.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, we want you. We've heard that you work real well with industry. You know the industry. You've kind of grown up in this industry." And so there I went. I went to D.C. in 2007.
Yeah.
Was there for 10 years under Bush administration, the Obama administration, and first 7 months of the Trump administration. And then I left after almost 40 years at USDA and came to work for JBS. Interesting part of that is when they approached me, they said they wanted to be the best at food safety, and so they wanted me to help them do that.
Yeah.
And so for the last 7 years, almost 8 years now, that's what I've done is try to get our FSQA people and our plant management people to work toward a common goal with the regulator, right? Because we all want the same thing. We all want safe food. It doesn't matter what side you're on.
Right.
We want safe food. We want people to depend on us to be able to provide for them food that's safe and nutritious. That's it. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
I mean, people try to make this big thing about, and you heard the presentation probably this morning of anti-ag. I think that's the craziest thing because, look, if it wasn't for us, people wouldn't be able to go sit down in restaurants and go to the store and have these nutritious products that we're responsible for. And quite frankly, this whole anti-ag thing is probably one of the most, I think, one of the most crazy things. If people really understood the dedication of these farmers and ranchers, because that's where it begins. I mean, we're in the middle, and we just provide the middle part of having these farmers and ranchers contribute to this nation's nutrition and health in a way that nobody else can do it. And we're the middle guys. Ed and I and all the folks that are sitting in that room, that we just mediate that.
Yeah.
But somehow we've become the enemy, because you have people that have all this access to wealth, that somehow they believe that they know what's best for the country, which is insane, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think you have such a great perspective to have an opinion, right? I mean, we all have opinions. It's based on our experience in life. You know, I have an opinion that killing an animal for my food is not a bad idea, because that's my experience. I've lived it. I understand it. For people that don't, then their opinion comes from a place of less experience.
Right.
By the way, thank you so much for telling that story in such an eloquent entirety, because I've kind of always been intimidated by you a little bit, just because the roles you played, the titles you had, these kind of things. What's great about the Meet People podcast is everybody now just gets to meet Al, the regular guy who swept out pens as a kid and pushed cattle up at L&H, and also had to think about not feeling adequate for the positions you were being offered, and experiencing mentors who believed in you. It's just all that stuff is like the beauty of the industry or life and all those things. Mm-hmm. It just really occurred to me while you're talking. It's like, shut up, Neil. Just let him talk.
Well, look, I've been extremely blessed to do the things that I've done in my life. Yeah. I mean, very few people can see it from these different perspectives, right? Because look, I never went back to college or got my college degree.
Yeah.
People are like, how in the world did you wind up as the administrator, deputy undersecretary, acting undersecretary without a college degree? And I would say, now, I'll say this, I wouldn't try that today, but look, it can be done. It's just a matter of putting your mind to it and recognizing that, look, you don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. But if you listen to your heart and you understand that there are plenty of people that are much smarter than you, and if you draw from them and you surround yourself with people that believe in you and you believe in them, success will come.
Yeah. That seems to be a common thread in that story. Would you say, it seems to me that one of your really greatest assets is your ability to work with people, to understand people, to listen to people, to work with people. Do you feel like that's part of what has played out as true?
Absolutely. It's surrounding yourself with people and listening to people and learning from their mistakes so that you don't repeat them. I mean, that sounds kind of like very quirky, right? Because, oh, well, who wouldn't do that? But nobody has all the answers. I don't care how smart you are or who you are. But that's exactly right, is you have to believe in your intuition and be able to read people and understand that even though they may not agree with you, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong.
Right.
It's just a different opinion.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the SMA podcast, and you've been coming to the SMA and, now multiple different roles and that kind of thing. What's your take on the Southwest Meat Association?
Well, so as a matter of fact, when I got named the administrator the following week, I was at SMA. It was like my first big deal, right? So, I mean, I was familiar with SMA because I was a Dallas district manager. Look, I mean, Joe Harris, Bobby Yarborough, Nick Nicholson, all these guys that sit in this room that are now a little bit older, like they've played a role in my success, in my career, that I can't repay them. I mean,
Yeah.
but doing stuff like this for them, I feel like, okay, so you give back a little bit and you contribute to this scholarship
Yeah.
program that they have. To me, look, there are many, many ways to give back to the industry, but this contributing to these scholarships, and for some of these young folks that are the future of what we're doing, they'll be sitting here doing podcasts with the people that replace us
Yeah.
in the future, right?
Right.
And allowing them the opportunity by helping them in any way that we can, especially with these scholarships, I don't think you can put a price tag on that. That's just simply what I think we're supposed to do, and paying back to what the success that we've had.
Yeah. Well, you've already spent a lot of time with me, and my brain is going crazy with more questions.
That's
more
fine.
questions. But last question. We'll land the plane after this. I'm curious. Did you have a favorite administration to work under, or a favorite mentor, boss, anybody? Part of what I love about the podcast is it's almost that chance to just hand a rose to somebody that you really appreciated in your life, that helped you. It might be your dad, might be your mom, might be a sibling. Do you have one?
Man, I can't say there's just one. I mean, because there were so many different phases of my life that it were different people that would step into that role, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously my dad, right? My dad was a food inspector. I don't know that I would have necessarily jumped straight into FSIS had it not been, I saw like what he represented, right? But the guy that hired me, Rodney Spencer at L&H, like he saw something in me as well, right? The different supervisors that I've had, the gentleman, Dr. George Martin in Austin, Texas, he's the guy that said, like, what the hell's so special about San Antonio?
Yeah.
You can always go back.
Yeah.
So like, it's just happened. I mean, it just seemed like as one person would transition out, then there'd be another one there, like, for the
and it
next
was
step.
cool that you were open for another one to step in. Like, you just kept your mind open to the idea that, hey, this is just part of my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, but it's so like it's just continued to happen in ways that I believe that the Lord was looking out for me,
Yeah.
right? Because how else do you explain that?
Right.
Every time, like, there was a pivotal time, like, okay, what am I doing next? And then somebody'd step in and guide me in
Kind
the
of
right
grab your
direction.
hand and say, come on.
Come on, yeah. Of course.
You going to answer that favorite administration question?
Look, I mean, not to get political, but I'll say this. I mean, for me, when you work at USDA, it's and in food safety, it's kind of an apolitical kind of position, right? Because everybody wants safe food.
Yeah.
I work for Secretary Johans. I worked for Secretary Schaefer for a short period of time after Johans left. Then I worked for Secretary Vilsack for 8 years. And Secretary Vilsack was a hoot to work for because he's an attorney.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter if he agreed with you. He was going to argue with you just to see if you were positioned well and you knew what you were talking about. Now, after a while, he got it. He was like, okay, right?
Yeah.
And then Secretary Perdue, he's a veterinarian. He comes in, you come and you tell him, hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing, and onward, right?
Right.
So from a political kind of perspective, like, all 4 of them were great to work with. And there was really no difference simply because of how
The job.
the job,
It is.
right?
It's
The
not
job,
political.
right?
It's all sides want safe, healthy food.
Now, going to testify before Congress, now that's a whole other
Oh Lordy.
situation, right? And I had to do that every year that I was there, and had to testify before the Senate a couple of times. So those those are a little gut wrenching, right? Because like you watch C-SPAN, you watch all these guys that are sitting there, and you see them sweating, and you're well. The first time they told me I was going to have to testify before Congress, I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, oh no, that's part of the job. You're like, and then they hand you a binder about like this, and they're like, you got to know like everything that's in there.
Yeah.
Hell, come on, like there's no way.
Right.
But to answer your question, um, I don't know that I could pick a favorite because all the secretaries that I worked for were really focused on us, FSIS, doing our jobs, and they would give us the resources that we needed to,
Yeah.
even though they'd have cutbacks, they'd have rescissions, they'd always figure out a way for FSIS to have the money to be able to make sure that the nation's food supply was safe. And so that's,
Yeah.
for me, I would say, no, I really don't have a favorite. I know that I always had all the support of the secretaries when I was there. And so it'd be difficult to pick a favorite, though they all had different personalities and different ways of getting what they needed.
You're just a great guy to talk to because that's a great way to approach life.
Yep.
Every single piece of it has value. It's hard to pick a favorite if you take that approach.
Right.
If you get kind of pigeonholed into this is what I like and that's what I need, then you lose some of the enjoyment that can be found even with a debater like Vilsack.
Or your objectivity as well, right? You lose that if
Yeah.
you don't if you kind of let yourself get sucked into one of those, and it's look, it's not an easy job. The administrator's job, the deputy undersecretary's job, or the undersecretary's job, they're not easy jobs by any stretch of the imagination because you're 24/7.
Yeah.
And when you walk out of that building and you retire, or you leave that job, and your phone isn't ringing anymore like it used to,
Feels a little weird.
very weird,
Yeah.
right? Because you're used to being on all the time.
We got to give a little bit of a applause to your family because anybody that works in that kind of 24/7, I mean, even business owners are similar. You
Yeah.
know, it's just this 24/7 thing. Somebody makes a sacrifice for that, and a lot of times it's the family.
Though I'm very, very proud of my kids and my wife and everybody that's supporting me. My parents, my siblings, they've all supported me throughout this. It was an adventure, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. The day that that I got to DC. Now imagine this, right? I'm a district manager on a Friday, and I show up in DC on a Monday, and all of a sudden I'm supervising about no less than 12 people that used to supervise me that Friday.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, you might be too young for this, but there's this show that used to be on, the Beverly Hillbillies. I felt like Jethro Bodine driving into Washington, D.C. I mean, because like my eyes were about like this, even though I'd been to D.C. a bunch of times, the reality of what I was going to be doing set in like
Yeah.
right then.
Yeah.
And imagine you're going from Dallas, Texas, supervising somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 people to supervising 10,000 people, to having the responsibility of assuring that you were going to protect the American public, not only the American public, hell, globally,
Right.
because our products go all over the world.
Yeah.
But that responsibility hits you like a slap in the face, right? Because you're like, this is real.
Yeah.
And you know that you're going to be held accountable for that, right?
Yep.
And then recognizing that the average tenure of an administrator at FSIS is 2.3 years. you know you have a shelf life, right?
Yeah.
And so when you walk out of there after 10 years, you think, I must have done a pretty good job.
That's right. That's right.
So
Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody, come back to the Meet People podcast. We're talking to guys just like Al, gals that have been part of this industry and just want you to get to know them. So meet people from the meat industry here at Meet People. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.